Chicken Soup for the Soul, reading number 6, with 4-minute fulfillment summary intro. I forgot to say the word minute on the last one. Oops. The fulfillment summary intro on the last one was about 3.5 minutes. There's a fulfillment summary intro before each one of my readings, with the best information you can get for having more fulfillment in your life. Each FSI will be at least 3 minutes long. You may have heard me talk about how you get more of whatever you think, and more importantly, whatever you feel. That's my favorite subject because that's the foundation for your fulfillment. So if you're feeling doubt and questioning things a lot, then you get more doubt and questioning. And that doesn't get you anywhere. Questioning and doubt blocks you from getting what you want when your questions focus on your doubts. Because where your focus goes, your energy flows. So please don't ever ask people questions that focus on doubts, because we don't know how we're going to get what we want. The how is none of our concern. There's infinite ways that the universe can provide us the how. What's important for us is to know what we want and to know that we are getting it, and then allow the universe to deliver it to us in the best ways. Here's a couple quick examples I remember reading about. They needed a big investor for their next big idea. They didn't know how they were going to get the money, the investor. They just knew that it was happening. He found a briefcase on the sidewalk of the street that was unlocked. Inside was $10,000 in cash and many envelopes with the same address. He went to the address. He returned to the owner the briefcase with all of its contents and all of the $10,000. The owner of the briefcase was very happy. He said he had to pay that $10,000 to the charity that their company was donating it to out of his pocket, and that the other papers in the briefcase were very important. He was glad to get them back. He was glad to get the money back. And then he said, "Tell me about you." And guess what? This guy becomes the big investor that they needed. Here's another example. This company decides they want to expand their business to Germany. They feel in their mind, heart, gut, and soul that it's a good idea, and they know that it's happening. Knowing that the how is none of their concern, their big plan to do this was to meet more Germans. Long story short, while shopping in a grocery store and talking with a friend he met there at random, he finds out that his friend's neighbor has a landscaping service where the guy who mows the lawn is from Germany. And that guy's father has a successful business in Germany. And the kid mows the lawn at the same time every week. So he went and talked with the kid. Got an interview on the phone with the kid's father. Is doing the same kind of business, as it turns out, that they're doing, that they're expanding, and boom, there it is. So you never know how the universe will deliver to you what you want. All you can do is know that it's happening. Keep your eyes and ears open and know that questions are the steering wheel of the mind. So the key is to ask the right questions. How do we get what we want? Don't ever focus on what you don't want. Just focus on what you do want while asking how to get it. And then let the universe bring it to you, knowing that you're getting it. The important part is to feel your wish coming true. So first, feel your wish coming true, then make it by allowing it to happen, while continuing to contribute as much value to the world as you can, and knowing in your heart that your wish is on its way to you. Chicken Soup for the Soul. Reading number 6. Children learn what they live. This is a poem. It's titled, Children Learn What They Live. I just had some of my health water. Here's to your good health. Cheers. Children learn what they live. If children live with criticism, they learn to condemn. If children live with hostility, they learn to fight. If children live with fear, they learn to be apprehensive. If children live with pity, they learn to feel sorry for themselves. If children live with ridicule, they learn to be shy. If children live with jealousy, they learn what envy is. If children live with shame, they learn to feel guilty. If children live with tolerance, they learn to be patient. Here we go. If children live with encouragement, they learn to be confident. Yes! If children live with praise, they learn to appreciate. Okay, yes. If children live with approval, they learn to like themselves. If children live with acceptance, they learn to find love in the world. If children live with recognition, they learn to have a goal. If children live with sharing, they learn to be generous. If children live with honesty and fairness, they learn what truth and justice are. If children live with security, they learn to have faith in themselves and in those around them. If children live with friendliness, they learn that the world is a nice place in which to live. If children live with serenity, they learn to have peace of mind. With what are your children living? Dorothy L. Nolte. Before I move on to the next story, I want to remind you real quick of my favorite quote from Albert Einstein, the great Albert Einstein. He said, the most important question a person can ask himself is, do we live in a friendly universe or a hostile universe? Because you get whatever you believe, think, and feel. So you want to trust and know that we live in a friendly universe. And then life will be a lot more fun for you. We live in a friendly universe. I like to say, this is so much fun. This is so easy. This is so much fun. This is so easy. Thank you, thank you, thank you for life. When you figure out why you're here, by getting quiet and relaxed, taking deep breaths, and asking your guidance why you're here, and you figure it out. then say to yourself frequently, this is so much fun, this is so easy, this is so much fun, this is so easy, thank you, thank you, thank you, while you know that everything's lining up in exactly the best ways to prepare you to be who you're here to be and to do what you're here to do. The next story is titled, Why I Chose My Father to Be My Dad. Yeah, I've read this before a bunch of times, a few times at least, but I mean, it sticks with you. This kind of thing sticks with you. I've only read it a few times, maybe only a couple of times, but I think I've read it a few times. That your spirit, I'm talking off the book here, that your spirit chooses, I've read this kind of thing a few times, your spirit, before it comes into your body, chooses the exact environment, people, and everything, down to, I remember reading one time, down to every mole that you have, every hair and mole or something like that. Your spirit chooses the circumstances that you come into to try to improve the world in the best ways, to learn what you need to learn to improve the world in the ways that your spirit wants to. Okay, back to the book. Why I Chose My Father to Be My Dad. I grew up on a beautiful sprawling farm in Iowa, raised by parents who are often described as a, quote, salt of the earth and the backbone of the community. They were all the things we know good parents to be: loving, committed to the task of raising their children with high expectations and a positive sense of self-regard. They expected us to do morning and evening chores, get to school on time, get decent grades, and be good people. There are 6 children. 6 children. It was never my idea that there should be so many of us. But then no one consulted me. To make matters worse, fate dropped me off in the middle of the American heartland in a most harsh and cold climate. Like all children, I thought that there had been a great universal mistake and I had been placed in the wrong family, most definitely in the wrong state. I disliked coping with the elements. The winters in Iowa are so freezing cold that you have to make rounds in the middle of the night to see that livestock aren't stranded in a place where they would freeze to death. Newborn animals had to be taken in the barn and sometimes warmed up in order to be kept alive. Winters are that cold in Iowa. My dad, an incredibly handsome, strong, charismatic, and energetic man, was always in motion. My brothers and sisters and I were in awe of him. We honored him and held him in the highest esteem. Now I understand why. Oh, now he understands why. Sorry, I was distracted. All right. Freeze, voice, smile. Wait. Doing. Frosty, where was I? Did I just turn the page? Turn the page. Now I understand why. I was way up here. Okay, got it. There were no inconsistencies in his life. He was an honorable man, highly principled, farming, his chosen work, was his passion. He was the best. He was at home raising and caring for animals. He felt at one with the earth and took great pride in planting and harvesting the crops. He refused to hunt out of season, even though deer, pheasants, quail, and other game roamed our farmlands in abundance. He refused to use soil additives or feed the animals anything other than natural grains. He taught us why he did this and why we must embrace the same ideals. Today I can see how conscientious he was, because this was in the mid-50s, before there was an attempt at universal commitment to earth-wide environmental preservation. Dad was also a very impatient man, but not in the middle of the night when he was checking his animals during these late night rounds. The relationship we developed from these times together was simply unforgettable. It made a compelling difference in my life. I learned so much about him. I often hear men and women say they spent so little time with their fathers. Indeed, the heart of today's men's groups is about groping for a father they never really knew. I knew mine. Back then I felt as if I was secretly his favorite child, although it's quite possible that each of us 6 children felt that way. Now, that was both good news and bad. The bad news was that I was the one selected by Dad to go with him for these midnight and early morning barnyard checks. And I absolutely detested getting up and leaving a warm bed to go out into the frosty air. But my dad was at his best and most lovable during those times. He was most understanding, patient, gentle, and was a good listener. His voice was gentle, and his smile made me understand my mother's passion for him. It was during these times when he was a model teacher, always focusing on the whys, the reasons for doing. He talked endlessly for the hour or hour and a half that it took to make the rounds. He talked about his war experiences, the whys of the war he served in, and about the region, its people, the effects of war, and its aftermath. Again and again, he told his story. In school, I found history all the more exciting and familiar. He talked about what he gained from his travels and why seeing the world was so important. He instilled a need and love of traveling. I had worked in or visited some 30 countries by the time I was 30 years old. He talked about the need and love of learning and why a formal education is important. And he talked about the difference between intelligence and wisdom. He wanted so much for me to go beyond my high school degree. He'd say over and over, "You can do it. You're a brace. You are bright. You have a good mind, and remember, you're a brace. You're a brace." There's 2 R's, so you're supposed to roll your tongue, I guess. I don't know. There was no way I was going to let him down. I had more than enough confidence to tackle any course of study. Eventually I completed a PhD and later earned a second doctorate. Though the first doctorate was for Dad and the second for me, there was definitely a sense of curiosity and quest that made both easy to attain. He talked about standards, and that was the right thing for him, because if it was easy, that's what you're supposed to be doing. There you go. He talked about standards and values, developing character, and what it meant in the course of one's life. I write and teach on a similar theme. He talked about how to make and evaluate decisions, when to cut your losses and walk away, and when to stick it out, even in the face of adversity. He talked about the concept of being and becoming. That's italicized. Being and becoming, and not just knowing and getting. I still use that phrase. He said, never sell out on your heart. Never sell out on your heart. Never sell out on your heart. He talked about gut instincts and how to decipher between those and emotional selves, and how to avoid being fooled by others. He said, always listen to your instincts and know that all the answers you'll ever need are within you. Take quiet time alone. Be still enough to find the answers within, and then listen to them. Find something you love to do. Then live a life that shows it. You want your goals to stem from your values, and then your work will radiate your heart's desire. This will divert you from all silly distractions that will only serve to waste your time. Your very life is about time. How much you can grow in whatever years you are given. Care about people, he said, and always respect Mother Earth, wherever you shall live. Be sure you have full view of the trees, sky, and land. My father, when I reflect on how he loved and valued his children, I'm genuinely sorry for the youth who will never know their fathers in this way, or will never feel the power of character, ethics, drive, and sensitivity all in one person, as I do in mine. My dad modeled what he talked, and I always knew he was serious about me. I knew he felt me worthy, and he wanted me to see that worth. Dad's message made sense to me because I never saw any conflict in the way he lived his life. He had thought about his life and lived it daily. He bought and paid for several farms over time. He's as active today as he was then. He married and has loved the same woman for a lifetime. My mother and he, now married for nearly 50 years, are still inseparable, sweethearts. They are the greatest lovers I've known, and he loved his family so much. I thought he was overly possessive and protective of his children, but now that I'm a parent, I can understand those needs and see them for what they are. Though he thought he could save us from the measles, and almost did, he vehemently refused to lose us to destructive vices. I also see how determined he was that we be caring and responsible adults. To this day, 5 of his children live within a few miles of him, and they have chosen a version of his lifestyle. They are devoted spouses and parents, and agriculture is their chosen work. They are without a doubt the backbone of their community. There is a twist to all this, and I suspect it's because of his talking. I suspect it's because of his taking me on those midnight rounds. I took a different direction than did the other 5 children. I began a career as an educator, counselor, and university professor, eventually writing several books for parents and children to share what I had learned about the importance of developing self-esteem in the childhood years. My messages to my daughter, while altered a bit, are the values that I learned from my father, tempered with my life experiences, of course. They continue to be passed on. I want to tell you a bit about my daughter. She's a tomboy, a beautiful 5'9" athlete who letters in 3 sports each year, frets over the difference between an A- and a B, and was just named a finalist in the Miss Teen California contest. And it's not her outward gifts and accomplishments that remind me of my parents. People always tell me that my daughter possesses a great kindness, a spirituality, a special fire deep inside that radiates outward. The essence of my parents is personified in their granddaughter. The rewards of esteeming their children and being dedicated parents have had a most nourishing effect on the lives of my parents as well. As of this writing, my father is at the Mayo Clinic in Rochester, Minnesota, for a battery of tests scheduled to take from 6 to 8 days. It's December. Because of the harsh winter, he took a hotel room near the clinic as an outpatient. Because of obligations at home, my mother was only able to stay with him for the first few days. So on Christmas Eve, they were apart. That night, I first called my dad in Rochester to say Merry Christmas. He sounded down and despondent. Then, I called my mother in Iowa. She was sad and morose. She lamented, "This is the first time your father and I have ever spent the holidays apart. It's just not Christmas without him." I had 14 dinner guests arriving, all ready for a festive evening. I returned to cooking, but not being able to get my parents' dilemma fully off my mind, I called my older sister. She called my brothers. We conferenced by phone. It was settled, determined that our parents should not be without each other on Christmas Eve. My younger brother would drive the 2 hours to Rochester to pick up my father and bring him home without telling my mother. I called my father to tell him of the plans. He said, "Oh no, it's far too dangerous to come out on a night like this." My brother arrived in Rochester and knocked at my father's hotel door. He called me from Dad's room to tell me he wouldn't go. "You have to tell him, Bobby. You're the only one he'll listen to." I said gently, "Go, Dad." He did. Tim and my dad started for Iowa. We kids kept track of their progress, the journey, and the weather by talking with them on my brother's car phone. By now, all my guests had arrived, and all were a part of this ordeal. They still had car phones back then. Everybody didn't have a cell phone yet. Whenever the phone rang, we put it on the speakerphone so we could hear the latest. It was just past 9 o'clock when the phone rang, and it was Dad on the car phone. Quote, "Bobby, how can I possibly go home without a gift for your mom? It would be the first time in nearly 50 years I didn't get her perfume for Christmas." By now, my entire dinner party was engineering this plan. We called my sister to get the names of nearby open shopping centers so they could stop for the only gift my dad would consider giving Mom. The same brand of perfume he has given her every year at Christmas. At 9:52 that evening, my brother and my dad left a little shopping mall in Minnesota for the trip home. At 11:50, they drove into the farmstead. My father, acting like a giggling schoolboy, stepped around the corner of the house and stood out of sight. Quote, "Mom, I visited Dad today, and he said to bring you his laundry," my brother said as he handed my mom the suitcases. She said softly and sadly, "Oh, I miss him so much. I might as well do these now." "You won't have time to do them tonight," said my father, coming out from his hiding. After my brother called me to relay this touching scene between our parents, these two friends and lovers, I phoned my mother. "Merry Christmas, Mother." "Oh, you kids," she said in a crackling voice, choking back tears. She was unable to continue. My guests cheered, though I was 2,000 miles away from them. It was one of the most special Christmases I've shared with my parents. And, of course, to date, my parents have not been apart on Christmas Eve. That's the strength of children who love and honor their parents, and, of course, the committed and marvelous marriage my parents share. Jonas Salk once told me, "Good parents give their children roots and wings. Roots to know where home is, wings to fly away and exercise what's been taught them." If gaining the skills to lead one's life purposefully and having a safe nest and being welcomed back to it is the legacy of parents, then I believe I chose my parents well. It was this past Christmas that I most fully understood why it was necessary that these two people be my parents. Though wings have taken me around the globe, eventually to nest in lovely California, the roots my parents gave me will be an indelible foundation forever. Betty B. Youngs. Okay, I'm going to talk on this for a bit now. The first thing I want to talk about is real quick side thing here. I remember my dad feeling like he's the king of the world because he had a phone in his car. He's like, "Watch this. Call home," or whatever. I was driving. "Hey, what's up?" Everybody's got a cell phone now. Everybody's got a little computer in their pocket on the street. We evolve in, baby, we evolve in. I mean, even people who live on the street have a phone now in their pocket, all right? It's 2025 now. All right. Now, let's get a little more serious. I wanted to give you a little bit of levity and then bring it back into serious mode, okay? These are great parents. And as I was saying at the beginning of this story, before I started it, in my own words, your spirit, I've read a few times that your spirit chooses your environment, chooses the body and environment to come into. There's no concept of time beyond life. Time is life. Life is time. They're both the same thing. Beyond life, there's no concept of time. Past, future. It all just is. Okay? Your spirit can jump back and forth through time whenever. You can see ahead. The spirit knows everything. And the spirit chooses the circumstances and everything that's going to happen to you in your life when it comes into your body, because that's what the spirit wants. If you choose to believe this, and I think it's a pretty good idea to believe this, because if you do, then you know that it's all happening for you. It's all happening for you. It's all happening for you. Maybe your parents weren't that great. You know what? I'm going to go ahead and say probably your parents were not that great. Your parents probably were not that great. So you could be like, okay, if my parents suck this bad, then there's no God. What the fuck? Or, and then you could have a crappy life if you chose to take that route. Or you could be like, okay. It's all happening for me. I came into this crappy situation being crapped on, having a crappy childhood with crappy parents, being crapped on all the time. I came into this. Why did I come into this? In this crappy neighborhood? Oh, so I can improve these things. I'm here to improve these things in the world. If it's all happening for me and everything happens for a reason, then the reason I came into this crap is because my spirit wants to improve these things in the world. Now, how do I improve these things in the world? If you focus on how you can improve these things in the world, I'll bet that will warm up your heart. And I'll bet you that everything will start to fall in place. And your parents will come around. And you get better friends. And everything's going to start going great for you. If you keep focusing on why you're here. To improve the things that you didn't like when you were growing up. That's the reason why you're here. That's most likely the reasons why you're here. Try focusing on that, how you can improve that, and see if that makes you feel good. Try it while you're meditating. Ask questions are the steering wheel of the mind, so ask, how can I improve these things? How would I enjoy improving these things in this world? How would I ask yourself? While taking deep breaths and you're in silence by yourself. How could I enjoy improving these things in this world? With gratitude for all of it. Go ahead and close your eyes right now. Take a deep breath. in through your nose from the bottom of your stomach first. And while holding it in, taking more air when you can, ask your higher power how you can enjoy improving the things that you disliked about your development, about your childhood. How can I enjoy improving these things? Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for all of it. Thank you, thank you, thank you. The next story is titled The Animal School. The Animal School. Once upon a time, Once upon a time, the animals decided they must do something heroic to meet the problems of, quote, a new world. So they organized a school. They adopted an activity curriculum consisting of running, climbing, swimming, and flying. To make it easier to administer the curriculum, all the animals took all the subjects. Yeah, they're trying to. I remember reading something like this. I bet you the animals are going to try to do stuff that they're not supposed to do. They're going to try, the ducks, whatever. The animals are going to try, like, the ants are going to try to fly or whatever. You have to do this. So the moral of this is you do what you're here to do. And you figure that out by doing what I just guided you through. Once upon a time, the animals decided they must do something heroic to meet the problems of, quote, a new world. So they organized a school. They adopted an activity curriculum consisting of running, climbing, swimming, and flying. To make it easier to administer the curriculum, all the animals took all the subjects. The duck was excellent in swimming, in fact, better than its instructor. But it made only passing grades in flying and was very poor in running. Since it was slow in running, it had to stay after school and also drop swimming in order to practice running. No! This was kept up until his webbed feet were baldly worn and he was only average in swimming. But average was acceptable in school, so nobody worried about that except the duck. The rabbit started at the top of the class in running, but had a nervous breakdown because of so much makeup work in swimming. The squirrel was excellent in climbing until it developed frustration in the flying class, where his teacher made him start from the ground up instead of from the treetop down. How was the rabbit in flying? Probably not good. I bet the rabbit flunked flying. Right now we're talking about the squirrel. The squirrel also developed a, quote, Charlie horse from overexertion, and then got a C in climbing and a D in running. Whatever. The eagle was a problem child and was disciplined severely. In the climbing class, the eagle beat all the others to the top of the tree, but insisted on using its own way to get there. That's right. At the end of the year, an abnormal eel that could swim exceedingly well and also run, climb, and fly a little had the highest average and was valedictorian. The prairie dogs stayed out of the school and fought the tax levy because the administration would not add digging and burrowing to the curriculum. They apprenticed their children to a badger and later joined the groundhogs and gophers to start a successful private school. Does this fable have a moral? Do what you like, go, is the moral. This is by George H. Revis. The next story is titled Touched. She is my daughter and is immersed in the turbulence of her 16th year. Following a recent bout with illness, she learned her best friend would soon be moving away. School was not going as well as she had hoped, nor as well as her mother and I had hoped. She exuded sadness through a muffle of blankets as she huddled in bed, searching for comfort. I wanted to reach out to her and wrench away all the miseries that had taken root in her young spirit, yet, even aware of how much I cared for her and wanted to remove her unhappiness, I knew the importance of proceeding with caution. As a family therapist, I've been well educated about inappropriate expressions of intimacy between fathers and daughters, primarily by clients whose lives have been torn apart by sexual abuse. I'm also aware of how easily care and closeness can be sexualized, especially by men who find the emotional field for foreign territory and who mistake any expression of affection for sexual invitation. How much easier it was to hold and comfort her when she was 2 or 3 or even 7, but now her body, our society, and my manhood all seemed to conspire against my comforting my daughter. How can I console her while still respecting the necessary boundaries between a father and a teenage daughter? I settled for offering her a back rub. She consented. I gently massaged her bony back and nodded shoulders as I apologized for my recent absence. I explained that I had just returned from the International Back Rubbing Finals, where I had placed 4th. I assured her that it's hard to beat the back rub of a concerned father, especially if he's a world-class back rubbing concerning father. I told her all about the contest and the other contestants as my hands and fingers sought to loosen tightened muscles and unlock the tensions in her young life. I told her about the shrunken, antique Asian man who had placed 3rd in the contest after studying acupuncture and acupressure his entire life. He could focus all his energy into his fingers, elevating back rubbing to an art. I explained. He poked and prodded with prestidigitatus. I think that's like magical. And it's split, so it prestidigitatus. He poked and prodded with prestidigitatus precision. I explained. showing my daughter a sample of what I'd learned from the old man. She groaned, though I wasn't sure whether in response to my alliteration or my touch. Then I told her about the woman who had placed second. She was from Turkey, and since her childhood had practiced the art of belly dancing, since her childhood had practiced the art of belly dancing, so she could make muscles move and ripple in fluid motion. With her back rub, her fingers awakened in tired muscles and weary bodies, an urge to vibrate and quiver and dance. I said, demonstrating. She let her fingers do the walking, and the muscles tagged along. That's weird, emanated faintly from a face muffled by a pillow. Was it my one-liner or my touch? Then I just rubbed my daughter's back and we settled into silence. After a time she asked, "So who got first place?" "You never believe it," I said. "It was a baby." And I explained how the soft, trusting touches of an infant exploring a world of skin and smells and tastes was like no other touch in the world. Softer than soft, unpredictable, gentle, searching. Tiny hands saying more than words could ever express, about belonging, about trust, about innocent love. And then I gently and softly touched her as I had learned from the infant. I recalled vividly her own infancy, holding her, rocking her, watching her grope and grow into her world. I realized that she, in fact, was the infant who had taught me about the touch of the infant. After another period of gentle back rubbing and silence, I said I was glad to have learned so much from the world's expert back rubbers. I explained how I had become an even better back rubber for a 16-year-old daughter, painfully stretching herself into adult shape. I offered a silent prayer of thanks that such life had been placed in my hands and that I was blessed with the miracle of touching even a part of it. Victor Nelson. The next story is titled, "I Love You, Son." Thoughts while driving my son to school. Morning, kid, with a capital K. You look pretty sharp in your Cub Scout gear. Not as fat as your old man when he was a cub. I don't think my hair was ever as long until I went away to college. But I think I'd recognize you anyway by what you are. A little shaggy around the ears, scuffed around the toes, wrinkled in the knees. We got used to one another. Now that you're 8, I noticed I don't see a whole lot of you anymore. On Columbus Day, you left at 9 in the morning. I saw you for 42 seconds at lunch, and you reappeared for supper at 5. I miss you, but I know you've got serious business to take care of. Certainly as serious as, if not more important than, the things the other commuters on the road are doing. You've got to grow up. You get to grow up. I'll need to change got to's to get to's. You get to grow up and out, and that's more important than clipping coupons, arranging stock options, or selling people short. You get to learn what you are able to do and what you aren't. And you get to learn how to deal with that. You get to learn about people and how they behave when they don't feel good about themselves, like the bullies who hang out at the bike rack and hassle the smaller kids. Yeah, you'll even learn, you'll even get to learn how to pretend that name calling doesn't hurt. I changed got to get to in every one of those, okay? Pretend that name calling doesn't hurt. Pretend that name calling doesn't hurt. It always hurts. But you'll have to put up a front or they'll call you worse names next time. I only hope you remember how it feels in case you ever decide to rank a kid who's smaller than you. When was the last time I told you I was proud of you? I guess if I can't remember, I've got work to do. I'll remember the last time I yelled at you. I told you we'd be late if you didn't hurry. But on balance, as Nixon used to say, I haven't given you as many pats as yells. For the record, in case you read this, I am proud of you. I especially like your independence, the way you take care of yourself even when it frightens me just a little bit. You've never been much of a whiner, and that makes you a superior kid in my book. Why is it that fathers are so slow to realize that 8-year-olds need as many hugs as 4-year-olds? If I don't watch out, pretty soon I'll be punching you on the arm and saying, "What do you say, kid?" instead of hugging you and telling you I love you. Life is too short to hide affection. Why is it that 8-year-olds are so slow to realize that 36-year-olds need as many hugs as 4-year-olds? Did I forget to tell you that I'm proud of you? Went back to a box. Okay. Did I forget to tell you that I'm proud you went back to a box lunch after 1 week's worth of indigestible hot lunch? I'm glad you value your body. I wish the drive weren't so short. I want to talk about last night when your younger brother was asleep and we let you stay up and watch the Yankees game. Those times are so special. There's no way you can plan them. Every time we try to plan something together, it's not as good or rich or warm. For a few, all too short minutes, it was as if you'd already grown up and we sat and talked without any words about, quote, "How are you doing in school, son?" I'd already checked your math homework. The only way I could with a calculator. You're better with numbers than I'll ever be. So we talked about the game, and you knew more about the players than I did, and I learned from you. And we were both happy when the Yankees won. Well, there's the crossing guard. He'll probably outlive all of us. I wish you didn't have to go to school today. There are so many things I want to say. Your exit from my car is so quick. I want to savor the moment, and you've already spotted a couple of your friends. I just wanted to say I love you, son. Victor B. Miller. Oh, that's nice. The next story is titled, What You Are is as important as what you do. And that's where I'll begin the next reading on page 103.
Chicken Soup for the Soul, reading number 6, with 4-minute fulfillment summary intro. There's a fulfillment summary intro before each one of my readings, with the best information you can get for having more fulfillment in your life. Each FSI will be at least 3 minutes long. You may have heard me talk about how you get more of whatever you think, and more importantly, whatever you feel.
Whatever you feel.
That's my favorite subject because that's the foundation for your fulfillment. So if you're feeling doubt and questioning things a lot, then you get more doubt and questioning.
Feel
and that
your
doesn't get you
wish.
anywhere. Questioning and doubt blocks you from
Then
getting what you want.
allow
When
it to
your
happen.
questions focus on your doubts. Because where your focus goes,
your energy flows.
So please don't ever ask people questions that focus on doubts, because we don't know how we're going to get what we want. The how is none of our concern. There's infinite ways that the universe can provide us the how.
It's time to
What's
rise.
important for us is to know what we want and to know that we are getting it, and then allow the universe to deliver it to us in the best ways.